Women of Reddit, what was the worst thing a man has ever told you in an attempt to hit on flirt with you? My boyfriend was killed in a car wreck by a drunk driver 1 year ago. He had to be cremated. I am in college. And at the time I was walking across campus when his mother texted me that the cremation had been done. I fell to the ground in tears. A guy came up to me, picked me up off the ground and hugged me. I just cried into his shoulder and told him what had just happened, saying something like my boyfriend died. He said, well, do you want a new one? Edit. Thanks to everyone for all the well wishes and for the gold as well. I didn't expect anyone to even see this. Thanks again. He wrote a love letter poem to me that included the phrase let thy juices secrete. Quick break. Whether you're looking for entertainment, education or inspiration, Audible has audiobooks for everyone. Link in the description for a 30-day free trial. When I was on holiday, a man was hitting on me and told me he could sense that my plane I was getting home the next day would crash, and I should stay there with him. I was 14 and he was in his 30-40s. Honestly, I'd prefer taking my chances on the plane. He told me that we were destined to be together because in several previous lifetimes we'd been teen lesbian lovers in an alternate universe where anime was real. He insisted on calling me by my true name, the name of some itty anime character he liked, and he would even correct my school papers with the true name. He had a notebook full of stories and drawings about our future life together. And he'd picked out names for our children and designed my wedding dress. This was all after we talked to each other casually a few times in class. This is one of the cringiest things I've ever read in my life. Every sentence just made it worse. It gets worse. He stalked me for several months after that. He ended up getting kicked out of university because 1. He skipped most of his classes so he could follow me around. 2. He had a huge collection of underage anime porn and he would openly talk about wanting to duck 9-year-old girls. 3. He masturbated so much that his roommates complained. And 4. After masturbating he liked to wipe his hands on things that girls might touch. Upon finding out that I can't drink because of a medical issue, a guy told me, it must be hard for a guy to flirt with you considering he can't get you drunk and stupid. Thanks. Honestly, for a black chick you're pretty hot. Are you sure you aren't mixed? I had a guy tell me you were a lot more interesting before you started talking and then continue to flirt with me. I don't know if that was an attempt at negging or what. Negging is like the adult equivalent to pinching your crush as children. Blows my mind that some people's relationship skills don't improve beyond kindergarten. A guy told me he was done going out with attractive women and now just wanted to date someone nice instead. Thanks buddy. You know, I can't decide who you look more like, a blow-up Japanese sex doll or a sexy version of Sid from Ice Age. Damn. Girl. You it with that ass. I give my wife this one every now and then lol. I give it to your wife every now and then too. Lol. Full stop. I had a guy at a bar notice I was Italian, and then proceed to tell me how great Mussolini was before asking me how I would feel about a naked 30-year man lying on top of me for 30 seconds. I think it was supposed to be a pickup line. He said he doesn't mind providing for me in exchange for companionship. I told him I was dating someone and still tried to convince me that he'd be a better option. Dude, I'm just waiting for my bus, I don't need your money. I would suck your dad's dick just to get a taste of the recipe. What do you say to that? You give him your dad's number. Who are you to stand in the way of love? We met on Tinder. Our first date. He picks me up in his car and as he's pulling out of the lot, makes a joke about raping and murdering me. I'm Japanese and this white guy was hitting on me and was trying to speak Japanese to me. I guess he thinks it would give him brownie points and I wouldn't notice his weeb aura. He then tried to correct my Japanese. I was speechless. I pretty much just got up and left without another word. Edit. Wow. I didn't expect so many replies. And they're so funny too. Made my day reading through them all. Had a guy tell me he wished he would have met me when I was younger. so he could get me pregnant and have multiple children with me because I was so hot. I was 17 at the time and he was 55. Maybe he misspoke and meant to say when he was younger and not you. Still creepy. But not quite as much. I've had 2 different guys tell me they were going to commit suicide if I didn't have sex with them. Proper response. Promise? I was at a bar with one of my friends and the guy sitting next to me taps me on the shoulder and says that the bartender accidentally gave him an extra drink and he wanted to know if I wanted it. I told him no thanks. I have a drink. He told me he didn't want to waste his money since he was charged for it, so I told him to give it to one of his friends next to him. He then laughed and said, "Why won't you take it? It's not like I'm gonna rape you or anything. I promise it's not roofied." We left quickly. Worst goes to a guy I'd met once at a party and had run into again at another party. He said, "Last time we talked I told you to go get me a beer. And you said no. Maybe once I give you some of this dick you'll do as you're told." Funniest most awkward goes to a coworker who figured out I loved video games, specifically BL2. He told me that I was an orange gun. Basically. Legendary. That's not even the highest ranked weaponry. But thanks. Bruh. One guy in his 40s saw me at my grandparents' house and decided to try complimenting me by complimenting my kid and how polite he was. When he was informed that that kid was my brother and I was 12, he doubled down, arguing that 12 was a perfect age to have kids, and progressively got creepier until I bolted back in the house. But most recently I had a guy go on a 2-hour rant about feminism and the smashed bros scene. I did not ask for this topic of conversation. He 100% brought it up. I might have appreciated the effort point he was trying to make, that he respected women, if he hadn't interrupted me every time I tried to talk. Blatantly talked over me several times. And ignored pretty much anything I said, including numerous attempts to turn the topic of conversation to literally anything else. It was honestly impressive how he managed to go on this massive, completely random "I respect women" rant while blatantly disrespecting me. I was at strip club when an incredibly drunk older guy walked up to me, assured me that I could crack a walnut with my ass cheeks, and then proceeded to ask me for a private dance. I told him I had a nut allergy. Once when I was very visibly pregnant, a man commented on how nice my ass looked and asked for my number. I told him I was married. He said what a lucky guy my husband was. Then he pointed to my stomach and said that could have been mine. It was the creepiest thing. Not to mention I was walking with my 4 and 6 years old daughters at the time. I was very heavily pregnant and a guy followed me around the grocery store asking me if he could please take care of me and my baby. "You look like a grown woman. How we give you a ride to your house?" From 2 men probably in their 50s trying to get me in their car when I was 17. Freaked me out for a bit. I lived in a small town, so I was afraid I'd run into them again. I was working the bar with a friend of mine a few years back. This older guy walked up to her and in front of everyone told her that he wants to murder her vagina. Yikes. Had a young stud in my statistics class write his number on the top of a test along with the note "call for a night worth an A." By happy coincidence, the last 2 digits of his phone number were 14. So I just circled them in red and added a % symbol. Something something. Something something. Didn't even get a D. You know. I had sex with one of my students yesterday. She only just turned 17. Well, nope, bye. Also informed said school since I had a bone to pick with that dude as well. I was out at an open mic music bar with a friend and this guy sat at our table and started talking to us. He kept mentioning really dark things, just his type of humor. After he played a set he came back and started talking about cutting my friend's stomach open to have another hole to play with. Later that night he was bragging about all the girls he sleeps with because he's a genuinely talented musician. I called him out and said he's 100% a virgin. He went wide-eyed and asked how I knew. I replied that he talked about eviscerating my friend and ducking her guts. He left us his number to call for a hookup. My friend didn't, it was his parents' landline. They're dating now. So I guess it worked out for him.